Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Legacy Farmer, the podcast. This is your host, J.C. Young, and today's topic of discussion is this: God is waiting. So we're going to talk a little bit about God today and talk a little bit about opening doors. But first, I need to explain why I am talking about this in the first place. So over the weekend, I had one of our Legends members reach out to me, and this member has been inside of Legacy Farmer for, since 2019 now. And they made the initial investment back then of time, energy, and money, and hopped into the network and the program and started going through the trainings and really just started to put some, get to working on themselves a little bit because they, just weren't happy where they were in business, which how many of you people listening to this podcast right now are not satisfied with where you're at in business and life? And a lot of us, we just, especially farmers and ranchers, we get so stuck in just the day-to-day operations and just the same daily habits. And it's like the same routine day after day after day. And this goes on for a lot of people for decades, right? For decades. And we're all wanting to change. We're all sick and tired of not making, the amount of money that we deserve based on the amount of work ethic that we are putting out, right? And so we get really frustrated. And so this is why a lot of members come to Legacy Farmers, because we help systemize things and structure entities and learn your numbers at a deep level, learn what the bank is looking at so you can negotiate interest rates, but ultimately figure out where inside of your operation your time is the most valuable, right? Where your time needs to be spent. Anyway, so this member came in 2019, and he's just had some huge opportunities come up to him here over the past month or so, and some great opportunities to make a lot of money and provide a lot of value. And these things, he feels like they've just kind of fallen into his lap. And in his message to me, he was sharing all this with me. He goes, I really don't get why this is happening to me. I don't consider myself to be the smartest guy in this town. It was interesting. It was interesting that he said that. And I said, I responded to him. I said, hey, Jordan, you know what's funny, man, about that is your success and the success of everybody in life in the beginning, right? When you're first starting out or trying to do something different, your success has nothing to do with having smarts. Has nothing to do with having smarts. Now, I want to be clear here. It has nothing to do with having smarts in the beginning, right? When we're talking about making money in the beginning, this is about taking action. This is about figuring out and making mistakes along the way so that you can learn what not to do, right? So you take action, you get to where you're making money. And then when you get to the keeping money phase, right? We have making money, keeping money, growing money. When you get to the keeping money phase, that's where the smarts start coming in because now you actually have time. But in the beginning, a lot of our members coming to Legacy Farmer, they want to be making more money. So what we need to do in the beginning is take relentless action. And that's exactly what I told Jordan. I said, man, the difference between successful versus not successful people in this world has nothing to do with smarts. It has nothing to do with smarts. It has to do with the courage and the willingness to take action. And if you take action and you are courageous, you will ultimately and inevitably receive the rewards at some point in time. Now, are you going to receive them right away? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're not going to. That's part of the cycle. You have to learn what not to do in order to learn what to do. And when you're stepping into anything brand new or making changes or anything like that, all you have to do is focus on taking action and learning the lessons along the way. And in that, you have to completely get rid of, this is what's a blessing by doing this, you have to completely get rid of your ability to care or give a shit what anybody else thinks around you. When I left the banking industry, I was just taking action. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had zero smarts at the time. I didn't have time to even think about things because I needed to create cash flow. I needed to bring in money for my family. I left my safe job at the bank where I was miserable, making $75,000 a year. Great salary. That's awesome for Western Kansas. But ultimately, I just wasn't going to be happy long-term, so I wasn't going to settle. So I started off, I took action. I left the bank without anybody's approval. And I jumped into this world of entrepreneurship. And the first 3 years, guys, was nothing but relentless action over and over again. And it seemed like it was just constant failure. It was just failure after failure after failure after failure. Or now when I look back at that, I see lesson after lesson after lesson after lesson. Right? You're building your smarts through that. But this is exactly what I told Jordan. I said, your success, man, and these opportunities coming to you right now are here and were born because of your action. And you chose to take action when you signed up for Legacy Farmer back in 2019. Now, I'm not saying Legacy Farmer is responsible for his results or this opportunity coming into his life. Ultimately, God is responsible for that. And I'm just going to have all of you consider, this is exactly what I said to Jordan. I said, man, when you made the first investment into Legacy Farmer back in 2019, that was you finally stepping through the door. That was you finally stepping into this door that God had put there for you, and you finally opened it. And you finally said, hey, you know what? I'm done settling for where I'm at. I'm done settling for where I'm going. I want a different future for myself and my family. I'm going to walk through this door. But here's the problem, guys. So many of you, God's got that door right in front of you, and you're not stepping through it because you are so stuck in your day-to-day habits and the routines and the comfortability and all this crap. And it's not going to serve you long-term. It's not going to serve you long-term. Having a game plan that, hey, it doesn't matter if we lose money this year because we have enough equity on our balance sheet, the bank's just going to refinance us next year. That's not a game plan. That's not a world that any of us want to live in, because at the end of the day, that plan will fail. That plan will fail. But the difference between successful people and non-successful people in this world is they open the doors. Now, here's the problem, though. Here's the fear that comes into this, is that you open a door and it's not going to be a good experience. Right? You open the door and you're like, man, this may have been the wrong door to open. And I get that. When you're like in that time frame and you just open the door and you're like, man, this is really hard. You're like, man, I should have opened another door. I'm going to have you consider that once you get past that door, let a year go by, you're going to look back at it and see, man, I now see the lesson that I learned. I now see why God placed that door in front of me. But so many of you, God is just waiting on you to open the first freaking door. And it doesn't matter. And I told Jordan, I said, man, your experience right now and what you're experiencing is so similar to mine, because when I invested in my first programs back in 2016 and 2017, that was me opening the door. The success that I'm having now in my business life and personal life, all of it, none of it happens unless I walk through that door back in 2017, unless I make the massive financial investment into myself and I bet on me. But I'm just going to have you consider that financial investment had nothing to do with getting results there, or paying that company to help me get results, or paying that mentor to help me get results. I'm going to have you consider that it was just like me finally stepping through the first door that God put into my path. Me finally having the courage to step through the door. And then once I got through that door, guess what showed up? Another door and another door and another door. And you have to have the courage to get off of your ass and get uncomfortable and walk through the freaking doors. So many of you right now are sitting on the fence, and I know you are. You're sitting in your truck, you're listening to this podcast, or you're sitting in the combine, you're listening to this podcast, and you're like, what the hell am I doing with my life? What am I doing? None of this is working. Marriage is falling apart at home. Business isn't working. I have no idea where I'm at financially. I'm stressed to the max. I'm working 18, 20 hours a day. I never get to spend time with my family. I feel guilty if I even leave the farm operation to go on a vacation or anything with my family. Totally get that. I totally get that. But guys, like, you have to I'm just going to have you consider that there's a door in front of you right now, and you have to open it. And I'm not even saying this legacy farmer. Maybe it's something completely different. Open the freaking door. Open the door and just walk through it so you can start the journey. At least you're opening the door and starting the journey, and now you're going to start going down this different path. But so many of you, you're so comfortable and want to just stay on the same path. You don't want to have any discomfort in your life. You don't want to try anything new. And I'm sorry, but you're going to have a life full of pain and regret long-term because you did not have the courage to walk through the door. And I'm going to have you consider that walking through that door, God is not intending in any way to hurt you. He's actually he already knows where you need to go. He already knows who you need to become. He's just waiting on you to have the courage to walk through the door. Like, that's why I called this episode God is Waiting. I was sitting here trying to think about, my conversation with Jordan and where it went to. And I was like, what do you name this episode? Because that's really what it came down to. It's like, man, all you did back in 2019 was open that first door that God presented to you. And yeah, it just happened to be Legacy Farmer. That's great. It could be any program, guys. It could be it doesn't even have to be a program. It could be any big move that you're making inside of your life. But again, unless you have the courage to walk through that freaking door, don't expect anything to change. Don't expect anything to change. You have to walk through the door, honestly, without anybody's permission as well. You really do, because if you are fearful of the door, what do you think your spouse is going to be fearful of? What do you think your parents are going to be fearful of? Like, they're going to be even more fearful of that door for you because they care about you. They don't want you to get hurt. That's why you have to push all of that aside, and you have to have the courage to walk through the door without anybody's freaking permission. I'm just telling you straight up, this is how it is. This is how it was when I left the banking industry. I threw my family into this disarray. Everybody was scared to death for me. I did not have my wife's approval when I left the banking industry, and it was the best decision I had ever made because I bet on me. And yes, it was so difficult. It was so hard. I look back at the decision. I'm like, man, I cannot believe that I had the courage to do that. But it wasn't really courage. It was more faith. Well, I mean, I guess it was courage, but there was a lot of faith involved in that as well. And my faith in God and faith that I was not going to walk this path alone, and that he placed these doors in front of me for a reason. All I had to do was become the person that had the courage to trust him and walk through the door. And then they just started this cascading, all these cascading events took place, and these more and more doors opened up, and some of them were the wrong ones, and the wrong ones were meant to teach me a lesson. All right, again, in order to learn what to do, you have to first learn what not to do. All right, and that was my experience on that journey. And I walked through door after door after door over the past 6 years. And ultimately, those doors led me to creating Legacy Farmer. And now we're 300 plus members. Now we have a great team. We have a great network. Everybody's getting value here. We have great weekly calls. Everybody is open and sharing numbers and personal problems and challenges and business problems and team management problems and tax problems and accounting problems and entity structure problems and banking problems and everything inside of this network. And it's become just super, super valuable for everyone. And guys, it doesn't happen unless I walk through that first door back in 2016 when I left the banking industry. And then I invested in my first program in 2017. And then that was the next door. But God was waiting on me since 2015. The idea about leaving the banking industry first entered my mind in 2015. And he was just sitting there, he's just waiting. Like, okay, Jace, eventually one day you'll have the courage here. I'm just waiting for you though. And once you do, then I'll send you down this path, and I'll bring amazing things to you, but they're not going to come easy, and they're going to come earned. There's going to be blood, sweat, and tears going through this path, and there's going to be fear of failure, and there's going to be fear of loss, and there's going to be just all of this fear that I'm going to bring down on you, because in that time, I'm truly going to trust your faith. Like, I'm going to test your faith in me and trusting me. And guys, that's what I want you to really think about here. That's what I wanted Jordan to think about, was because all you have to do is open the door. All you have to, I don't care what it is. I do not care what it is. Just open the door and walk through and do something different. Take the heat from everybody else around you. Again, I'm telling you to expect it. Like, it's going to be there. And again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because the only thing that actually matters is 3 to 5 years from now, your results. Like, that's it. That's honestly it. You think anybody doubts me now? You think anybody has any pushback for me now, or saying, oh man, you shouldn't have left the bank? Really? Really? I have a successful business. Our members are getting value. People like being here. We make, we provide a lot of value to our members. People are renewing. So I have a profitable company. Like, everything's going great. You're going to try to tell me that, oh man, you should have stayed in the banking industry? Come on. I have freedom of time now, freedom of doing what I want when I want. I make my schedule. I get to lead not only my team, but a network of all of our members as well. Like, it's so cool, guys. It is so cool. And I feel so blessed to even be sitting here talking about this, because back in 2016, I couldn't have ever even envisioned this. I could not have envisioned this for my life, and that God had this plan for me. But again, I don't even get to fulfill his plan unless I have the courage to walk through his first door. So my friends, if you're taking away anything from this episode, walk through the freaking door. Walk through the door. I'm just telling you, it's going to be scary in the first year, 2 years, maybe 3 years for you, but it will be so worth it long term. It really will. And all you have to do is have faith, and it's going to test your faith, and you're going to have to bust your ass, and you have to work hard. And through all those lessons, you are going to build up your smarts. Because here's the difference too. I talked about the different phases, right? Phase 1 is making money, which requires relentless action, and you are going to screw up. You're going to make mistakes, and those mistakes are going to be the valuable lessons that God meant for you to earn or learn. Stage 2 is keeping money, and keeping money is about half, like 50% relentless action, 50% smarts. And because now that you're making money and you have a system that's making money, you now start to transition into, okay, great, how do I keep it? And then you're no longer rushed because you have cash flow coming in, you have money coming in. So you're no longer rushing your decisions anymore, which gets you to a point where you don't have to make those same mistakes over and over again. And then finally, you get into the final phase, which is grow money, all right? Make, keep, grow. Now in the grow money phase, which is where I'm currently at, you have a lot of time because you've built out these systems, you built out this business, you're profitable, you have all of these things in place, everything is structured, it's organized. This is where we're getting all the members inside of Legacy Farmer too. And now you're in the grow money phase where you can actually sit back and truly think about every decision. Nothing is rushed. Like, that's a huge blessing, guys. Nothing is rushed, and you can really be calculated and strategic about every decision you make. And you can choose to make it or not make it. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because you have money coming in. Like, that's where I want to get everybody to. That's where I want every one of our members to get to. And the thing is that's where Jordan is stepping into, this member that I was having the conversation with over the weekend. So my friends, that's where God has a plan for you. He's just waiting on you to walk through the door. So again, just reminding you, walk through the freaking door, have trust in him, have trust in his plan, and ultimately bet on yourself, have trust in yourself, have faith in yourself, and you will accomplish some pretty amazing things. And it's going to take time. It's going to take time, but that person that he ultimately desires for you to become, that person is molded in time under tension. Time under tension, not time under easy, rainbow path. It's time under tension and challenges and struggle. And that's what makes the entire journey worth it. So my friends, that concludes today's episode. I hope you found it valuable, and we'll catch you on the next one.